Rise and shout, football fans. I got BYU versus Utah State in Week 5 college football action. In this game, BYU beats Utah State 38 to 26, and I'm going to do some film review of the game. The BYU Cougars coming in were 24-point favorites, and Utah State was coming in at 1-3. They recently had losses to both Weber State and UNLV, and they lost their starting quarterback in what has been considered a disappointing season so far for the defending Mountain West Conference champions. During film analysis today, I will analyze each half separately because they almost felt like two separate games. And as I'm reviewing this game, I kind of realize that I sometimes am speculating a little bit too much about what the defense is doing. So if I got something wrong, I do apologize. Thank you for tuning in, and let's get right into the action. So this is the first play from scrimmage, and Utah State has made it very evident that they want to spread the field. They got 4 wide receivers, or wide blockers as they'll be known for most of the night, spread out, and this is causing the BYU defense has both their corners plus both outside linebackers out covering wide receivers. Plus, they are playing a cover 2 with both of their safeties playing 10 yards back off the ball. In addition to this, you're going to see the Utah State wide, or the running back is going to run to the right side here. And this causes the BYU middle linebacker to follow the running back over to the right side of the field. So now at this point, you got 4 defensive linemen rushing in at the quarterback at what looks like a pass play. This is actually a designed quarterback run, and if we go over it real quick, the 2 right-sided offensive linemen, the right tackle, right guard, they're going to come from this side and they're going to pull over to the left side of the field. When you add them, plus the 3 offensive linemen already on the left side, plus the 2 wideouts over here, you got a total of 7 blockers against BYU having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players able to try and make a stop. And Utah State, the entire goal of their run game was first spread BYU out and then attack with numbers in one specific area and see if you can displace BYU and get a bunch of yards. In this case, it works pretty well. Outside of, I do have to give some credit to BYU player here, number 92, Tyler Batty. He's getting blocked. He fights off his block and he's almost able to get to the quarterback in time. Unfortunately, he only gets a hand on him and Utah State's quarterback gets through. It's a gain of 6 yards. And the football helmet comes off, so he has to go out for a play. So on this play, Utah State is going to hand off to their running back, and he's going to run to the left side of the field. They're going to use their fullback as well as 2 of their right side offensive linemen are going to come over to the left side and help establish a block. And as you see this play develop, there's one BYU player that I think does a really good job, and unfortunately his hard work doesn't get realized here, but he comes over and he engages his block and he keeps outside leverage, therefore forcing the play inside. And if we move forward a bit here, right there, again, he's got outside leverage, and with that outside leverage, it forces the run back to go inside. Unfortunately, as you see this, it looks like BYU's defenders, while they have good numbers, are only able to get a hand on the running back, and Utah State's able to get enough speed and burst out for about a 15-yard gain. In this case, I do feel like the scheme was good enough that they could have stopped Utah State, but they just weren't able to make the tackle, in my book. On this play, I think Utah State just has a poor play design. They're going to do a screen out to the left side of the field, and they got 3 players against BYU, who is also lining up with 3 players to defend. They're a little bit more spread out. And on this screen play, I just want to point out where Utah State catches the ball. They're going to catch it about 2.5 yards behind the line of scrimmage here, and also about 1.5 yards away from the out of bounds. And at this point, the out of bounds marker is just adding an extra defender. So not only does Utah State not have a numbers advantage, but it's equal, but then they're also pushed up against the sideline. Throwing a screen into a really busy, congested area. I just don't feel like this play had a chance from the get-go, and I would have tried to audible out into a different type of play at this point. Looks like Utah State still gets a yard or two on the play, but overall, I did not like the play call. So Utah State is doing another quarterback run. Throughout this game, and especially in the first half, it looked like they wanted to run the quarterback a lot and use him in the run game because, well, if you have quarterback run, you get an extra blocker, as well as he was doing it very efficiently against BYU's run defense. They have a couple things I want to point out in this play. Their running back, he's going to run to the left side of the field, and that slightly alters the course of the safety and outside linebacker here. Utah State also is going to pull their tight end. Wrong color. Their tight end is coming over here, as well as this right tackle comes over to the left side, and that gives a numbers advantage to Utah State on the left here. Since there is no outside linebacker on the left side of the field or the far side of the field, the defensive end, he went for a tackle right here, and he tackled the right tackle that was pulling, brought him to the ground, which is legal because it's right there at the tackle box, initial surge. But now we got the middle linebacker, the safety, and the corner, and Utah State has 1, 2 guys ready and willing to block, and the safety is playing about 8 yards off the line of scrimmage. So you know at this point Utah State's in a pretty good position, and they're going to get a couple of yards. Here, Utah State's quarterback is able to get a stiff arm and evade the tackle, and he's able to run into the end zone. I was just really frustrated at this point because it just didn't feel like BYU was ready to play any run defense that entire first half. So this is BYU's second play from scrimmage, and I wanted to use their first play because it was a great pass to Gunnar Romney, but you never really get a good view of the entire play as the announcers were talking about just how great Jaren Hall is, which I'm okay with as a BYU fan. Jaren Hall's having a great season. So in this play, kind of want to focus on what it looks like the base defense Utah State decided to run against BYU. And it looks like they're going to do most of the time 4 down linemen to attack and rush at the quarterback. One of the middle linebackers is going to spy Jaren Hall and try to contain him if he tries to go out for a run. And then they typically are doing a cover 1, sometimes a cover 2 defense to prevent the passing attack. In this play, I really want to just let Keanu Hill show his skill in that he was able to not only shake off his defender, but I feel like he used his defender's missed tackle to shield another Utah State defender from getting to him, and he read Cosper's block right here very well, that he was able to use that to also get around number 2. Great catch, great run by Keanu Hill, very impressive. I love this play by BYU's defense because here they fight and they maintain their ground, they push the Utah State blockers out of the way, and they're able to do a good job. The first player I want to highlight is this nose tackle. He's going one-on-one against the center, and since the center has to focus on hiking the ball, he uses that advantage and he gets the initial push and does a great job in getting some penetration. The defensive end over here, he gets double teamed, and even though he gets double teamed, he stays on his feet and he maintains his position and is not easily displaced. And the thing that I think makes this even better is that way the linebackers, as they're coming down, they're not super congested 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and they're able to get up towards the line of scrimmage and still assess the play and see where they need to make a tackle. As you play this forward, like at this point, good penetration, good job taking on a double team and still holding your position at the line of scrimmage, and then Tooley just blew by his defender, easy tackle. Just a great job done by the BYU defense, and I think it helped put Utah State in a bad down and distance situation for the next play I'm about to review. So in this play, like the previous play, the BYU defensive line is going to get some good pressure. Right here, they're going to blitz 3, and in typical BYU fashion, they're going to drop 8 into the backfield. The reason why this works is the 3 defensive linemen actually get pressure on the quarterback, and one of them is able to get up and bat the ball. Right here, he gets his big paw up, bats the ball. Max Tooley, outside linebacker, able to pick it off, waits for Cody Epps to block for him, and he's able to just run it to the house, pick 6. At this point, I felt like, okay, BYU's figured out their defense, and they got everything going. I will like to point out that Max Tooley, as well as the other outside linebacker, Ben Bywater, I also feel like the safeties, Malik Moore, Micah Harper, they're playing great football at this point in the season, and I was very impressed with them. So there's 2 players I want to highlight on this play. You got Jakob Robinson is going to make a great defensive play against the slot receiver. He's going to come down and he's going to run a post play. In addition to that, the other player I want to kind of highlight is Utah State's quarterback is kind of going to teleprompt exactly where the play is going, because as we watch this play, he gets the hike and he's staring at one wide receiver the whole time, and he doesn't take his eyes off him and then throws the ball. So the BYU defense basically knows where the ball's going. And right here, just a perfect elevation, launch, and Jakob Robinson here climbed the ladder, and he's just going to hit the ball away. It was very well done, and if I recall correctly, I believe he transferred from Utah State, so it's awesome to see him get a little bit of payback against his former team. Excellent play. So on this play, you see Utah State is going to run again to the left side of the field. They got their running back running to the left, and then they're going to bring their tight end fullback hybrid role. He's going to come block on the left side. And there's 2 things that I wish BYU would have done better. They got their defensive end and their middle linebacker here. They both kind of crash down on the exact same gap. And since they're both in the same spot, it allows the running back for Utah State to get to the outside. The other thing I kind of noticed was the middle linebacker on this side, I guess he's an outside linebacker, as well as the safety. They both kind of stay on the right side of the field, but Utah State only has 1 wide receiver on this entire side of the field, so I would like to see the linebacker and then shortly after him the safety react sooner in attacking the side of the field where the offense is bringing pressure and the play develops. But it seems like they're just slow developing there. As you look at this, the combination of it all, it looks like the Utah State running back is about to get, I guess it's only 5 yards before he even gets a hand on him, and he's able to get about a 9-yard gain. Overall, I'd like to see the scheme able to get a hand on the running back earlier, maybe get a stop once in a while, and cause some 2nd, 3rd down and long situations so they can't just keep running it on BYU. So this play on defense for BYU was a bit of a breath of fresh air, because Utah State's offense wasn't really rolling all that well. They were constantly getting stopped on 3rd down, and they didn't get a single first down by themselves. Both of their first downs and most of their yardage on this short field drive that they had was due to penalties on BYU. They got a BYU offsides call on 4th down and 1 yard, and then there was also a personal foul for throwing a cleat up in the air after BYU stopped Utah State well short of the first down marker. After both of those plays, I was grateful that BYU was able to get the ball back. As you watch here, boom, the ball gets knocked out right before the elbow has not hit the ground, plus the hand being on the ground does not make you down. When I first saw this replay, I thought, oh, did Utah State get the ball back? But if you look at another angle here, you'll see that the quarterback didn't get the ball, and BYU was able to jump in there, secure the ball, and the video evidence overturned the call on the field. BYU fumble recovery, and they're able to get the ball back. So now we're in the 2nd quarter, 1st down and 10, and BYU is about to take their 6th snap of the game, and it's going to be a power run play to the left side of the field, and you also have Gunnar Romney's going to come over here, and he's going to help with blocking on, I believe he goes towards the cornerback, it might be the middle linebacker, but the play blows up before it even gets there. As you look at it, the handoff exchange doesn't go well. BYU fumbles the ball. Luckily, BYU is able to get into the pile and they recover the ball with a 5 yard loss. Overall, just not a great start to BYU's offense. Their first two plays, they got a touchdown and did very well, but their second drive was a 3-and-out, and now they're starting behind the sticks here. So this play by BYU was pretty frustrating to me. I'm going to go back to last year in 2021 with a similar play setup where the wide receiver, in this case it was Puka Nacua, he comes on a route just behind the line of scrimmage, and the offensive line, three of them come up here and they set a block, as well as the tight end is also going to set a pick play. And it ends up working well because there's lots of blockers in front, plus the running back and both tackles get back here and they form a wall of protection for Jaren Hall to throw from. The thing that made me frustrated about this play, and I was extremely frustrated, is it looks like they're trying to set up Gunnar Romney to get the ball on this play, but instead of getting all those pieces in the right place, in this one, the offensive line just drops back in protection. The running back comes out here and he joins the slot receiver and wide receiver to run to the right side of the field. And the tight end comes here and he does a pick play while Gunnar Romney stays behind the line of scrimmage, so it's legal. And Jaren Hall is focused on Gunnar and throws to him. And the thing I don't like about it is it's 3rd down and 15. So at this point, yes, Jaren Hall has great protection, but he's focused on Gunnar, who, when he catches it, he's got to find a way to get 16 yards downfield. But he only has one blocker, and it looks like Utah State has a whole bevy of defenders here, as well as the safety coming crashing down. Plus there's another 4 defenders down this direction that are going to be able to see Gunnar get the ball. And it just didn't seem like the play had a chance from the get-go. I feel like we just got to go back to the drawing board on that play because too many weaknesses involved and there wasn't an ability for BYU to gain a lot of yardage. If the center and the right tackle would have gone up and helped provide blocks, maybe Gunnar could have broken it out to the right side of the field. But that play needs to just be workshopped a little bit longer in my book. Or throw it in the trash can, and then throw the trash can in the shredder, and then throw the shredder in the bonfire. Either route works for me. On this play, Utah State is going for it on 4th down and 1, and they're packing the line with 2 tight ends on the left side, so they got a total of 7 blockers, plus a running back's going to come down here and add an 8th blocker, and they're going to try to push the line forward. BYU has 4 defensive linemen that I think do a pretty good job, as these 4 are able to meet the block head on, and they keep the line of scrimmage right where the ball starts out in the neutral zone. As you watch this play develop, I notice right here you got a BYU attack. They got 1, 2, 3. They're expecting the ball to go up the middle, and they start to bunch up in a group right here. And while it looks like it's okay for the time being, they end up getting themselves out of position as they get all clumped up in this little area, and they don't continue to push downhill and try to keep pushing that pile of players far away from the 1st down marker. And as you watch this, you see right here, the very first instant of contact that the Utah State quarterback has is right there at the 1st down line. I feel like if BYU's first 2 players to the 1st down marker would have just kept pushing downhill, they would have been able to get help from, wrong color, these 2 players right behind them and pushing the quarterback. And hopefully stop them short on 4th down and 1. In this case, Utah State takes advantage of the extra blocker, and the quarterback designed run is able to get the 1st down. So this play is 3rd down and 9 on BYU's now 4th possession of the game, and it's a play for Chris Brooks to run to the left side. A lot of the fans in the stadium didn't like it, and I didn't like it either, because normally BYU employs what is kind of a zone blocking scheme at which the offensive line will push to direction as well as out. But on this play, it doesn't seem like they're doing that. It's more, as soon as the ball is hiked, they're all running parallel to the line of scrimmage. And it just doesn't work for them because they're never able to either push the Utah State defensive line or really get a good block in. As you see this, I it just doesn't seem like Chris Brooks has much of an option to even get downfield. I like it when BYU has more of that line of scrimmage, more of a angular push as they do their slant blocking route instead of this parallel to the line. Again, I'm not an expert on the zone blocking scheme, and if anyone can maybe add a comment as to why they ran a blocking scheme in that direction, I would love to hear. On this play, you're going to see great effort by the Utah State offensive line. They're going to have their center and right guard together come up, and they're going to block BYU's defensive lineman that is right in the gap that they're trying to open up, as well as the left tackle is going to come over, and he's going to help with the right tackle, and they're going to guard or block up into the second level, as well as this fullback comes over and he gives a cut block over here. I feel like Utah State has a lot more effort on this play as they're able to not only open up a large hole, but you look at it, you got offensive linemen have already pushed this defensive lineman right here back 2.5 yards, and now they're engaging and blocking both of the middle linebackers. At this point, Utah State just has to get the running back into the hole and let him burst through the hole fast enough before the rest of the BYU defense is able to collapse in time. Great, patient, well done by the Utah State team, and BYU knows going into halftime they're going to have to find some answers. So I'm going to do a separate video for the second half of the game because overall the first half and the second half of BYU Utah State were just completely different. A couple things I want to highlight is, first off, BYU has negative 21 rushing yards. They're just not doing well, and their offensive line is getting very poor run blocking in general. The passing yards for BYU, while it is 128 yards, most of those yards came in the first two plays from scrimmage for BYU, and ever since those first two plays, they haven't really got too many yards passing either. So that brings us a total of 107 total yards. Utah State has almost that many total yards they have in just passing alone, plus they have 147 rush yards. And then the big thing here is you have 21 minutes and 25 seconds in time of possession. That's going to be about 71.4% time of possession, versus BYU is holding on to the ball about 28.6% time of possession. And I think a large reason why the time of possession is so off is because of this number right here. Third downs, BYU's 1 of 5, whereas Utah State, 7 of 13, doesn't seem that good as far as third downs go, but you gotta give them +2 more third down conversions because of penalties on BYU after they got the third down stop. So they're actually 9 of 13, which comes out to be about 70% converting. Much better than BYU, who is currently converting about 20% of their first downs. Overall, BYU was never really able to establish their offense, and they weren't able to get any of their game plan going in the first half. And that's why I'm grateful that they were able to regroup in the halftime locker room, talk over some things. And I feel like they came out a different team in the second half.